Yay. Hi.
Hey,
Welcome everybody to our May live show. So for this month we read Leviathan Wakes, which is the first book in the Expanse series. Yes, the beautiful cover. I don't have a physical copy. And yeah, so if you're on my channel, I think you know who I am, but I'm Melody Strawberry Lemon Books. Haven't been on YouTube for a while. And yeah, if everybody could introduce themselves, we can go to Steph.
Hi guys, my name is Steph from the channel Coffee Over Apples. I do drawing, cooking, random things, but mostly read sci-fi, fantasy, horror. So go ahead, Jessa.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jessa from Gabbing with Jessa. I, like Melody, have not posted in a while, but I am just doing a whole bunch of things that are in the works, but I do like to focus on books and just other fun fandom things that I like. And we'll go over to Max.
Hey, I'm Max. I'm really impressed that everybody pointed the right direction the first time. My channel is Single Book Reviews, and I read every genre that there is to read.
Amazing. Everybody's information is linked down below, so check everyone out. And yeah, we can get started with non-spoilers. Thoughts? What was everyone's star rating?
This one for me was 4.
Yeah, same. Okay.
I was like a 3.75, but like definitely, but you know, obviously it's more of a 4 than like a 3, so.
What stopped it from being a 5-star for everyone?
I feel like that's spoiler territory, so I don't.
Okay, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that.
If you can give
For me, just like getting into it a little bit, that's always seems to what drags it down for me. Not that it needs to be like action right away or anything, but I notice that if I have to go back and read a lot of like first getting into it in a new world, sometimes that just brings it out for me. And I know that's definitely just like a first book new world issue that I have personally, but that just like that's how I always knock it back is for that if I can't get into it and I don't really understand it right away.
Yeah.
I think for me, I didn't really it's not connect. Like I didn't really like love any of the characters. Like if they died, I don't think I would have cried.
That's valid.
Yeah.
It's valid, yeah.
How about you, Max?
Well, when I was reading, because I've read a lot of fantasy this year, and like going back to sci-fi is such a nice change. I feel like this is the first like proper sci-fi that I've read this year. It took a very different direction than what I was expecting, though. But we'll come back to that. Like a super different direction. But I feel like with sci-fi, it just sticks in my head more. So I don't really have to go back and read stuff. And I read this book really fast because I was just like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? And I really couldn't put it down. I loved it. I thought it was so cool.
Okay.
I agree. I would have read it faster if I wasn't annotating. But I just had to keep stopping and highlighting like, oh my God. I think literally like half, I gotta show you, there's a page in here somewhere where I literally just wrote on the entire thing, what the fuck?
Really? I want to see that.
It's so good.
Okay. Anything else that's non-spoilery?
I guess we can talk about who are people's favorite characters. But we don't have to say why. We can go to why later.
Okay.
I really like Miller. I really like Miller.
I love Miller. I know. I'm hot and cold with Miller. Like there were some points where I was like, oh, he is so spot on. Like I love him. Like I want to be his friend. Like I would be his partner if we were cops together. But then there were some other decisions that he made throughout the story that just didn't sit well with me, or I don't know. We'll get into why later. But like there were just some moments that were questionable, and some moments where it seemed like it was part of his character that were questionable, but then also whether it was because of the plot being dependent on those choices that didn't sit right. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, Miller was a good one. I also was a fan of Naomi.
Yes.
Like
Naomi was cool.
I connected with her right away, and I'm like, all right, girl, let's go. Like, I'm here for this. So, yeah, just another character I thought was fun to read. And just someone I was like, yep, okay, we're doing this. I like this.
There was one like Naomi monologue which I loved so much, and it's the bit where like it's the one she has to Holden, and it's the bit where she just breaks it down like, let me explain why your behavior is not good.
Yes,
I was like, oh my god, like everything. I was like, damn, that was so cool. I love that
for that.
Yeah, I would say Naomi too. I liked everybody in Holden's crew.
Yes, me too. Funny. Naomi was such a strong female character. I love her. Yeah. But how about you, Mel? Who is your favorite?
Naomi.
I'm really interested to see in the series when we get to it, how different in build the Belters are going to be, because in my head they are like a minimum like 6'6", 6'8". Yeah. They're like really big. But I feel like where would you find actors like that? And like, would there be, because obviously you couldn't find actors like that, how far were they going to take it with stuff like forced perspective to make people seem really huge on camera?
I was just picturing like The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm just like, yeah, that's what I'm visualizing in my head for these characters. It's just a bunch of him.
Because in my head, like Naomi is at least a head taller than Holden.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking like The Rock for Amos, and for like the ones with cocky and build, but then more of like Slender Man-esque for the Belters, because they describe them as being like super tall, really thin.
I pictured the Belters all to look like, Doug Jones.
Who?
Doug Jones. You never see him as Doug Jones because he's the guy that does, his whole career is in like prosthetics. He's the guy that played Abe in Hellboy.
Oh.
Like he is like the tallest, skinniest man in the entire universe.
We've seen him do.
I think he was the faun in Pan's Labyrinth as well.
And that is something that I haven't watched.
You haven't seen Pan's Labyrinth? Okay. Yeah. We're going to talk about that another time.
Yeah. There's a lot of things in this book that I'm really curious to see how they put it in the show.
Yeah, me too.
Especially the second half visualization of our enemy. I don't know how to say that non-spoilery. Which is one of the reasons why I didn't rate it 5 stars, is because that section was not as descriptive as I would have liked it to be. When it started getting into like the more fantasy element of it, I would have sacrificed a little bit more of the dialogue or whatever else was there for some more world build.
I think with the world build, I have to keep reminding myself that this is book 1, and there is more coming.
Yeah,
it's true.
Did it feel kind of long to anyone?
Kind of long?
Yeah.
I didn't think it dragged. Like I feel like it was a long book, but I didn't feel like it was one of the books that's too long. Because some books you're like, oh, this could have been like 200 pages shorter and exactly the same book. But I don't think there was anything in it that was like unnecessary.
Right. Like I feel like it definitely didn't drag. But there were certain points where after an action scene, I was like, okay, if this ended right here, I would be satisfied and then just go on to book 2. But then there's more. And then we would have another big segment. And like, okay, if it ended now, I'd still be satisfied, but there's more. So it felt like the way it was paced, like they were broken into chunks.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I like the way it ended, but I don't know. I just felt a little. If I was the author, I might have broken it up more. That's just a personal thing.
If I know exactly what you mean. It felt like after the climax, there was kind of like a cool down at the end. Yeah, I kind of liked it.
Oh, what, Max?
No, you said I kind of liked it.
Oh. Yeah. I'm curious to see what is going to happen in the second book, though. Because it kind of like went down, and then what else is going to happen? what horror is this author gonna bring?
I love that it went into a horror direction that I wasn't really expecting.
Yeah.
And it needed that.
Yes.
I wanted more of that. That was probably what was lacking the most, but I think, like Max said, it's only book 1, so I'm hoping that book 2 we get more of that. But also, I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I feel like I need to read book 2 soon, because if not, I'm going to forget everything that happened.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. I think we have a Discord group for it, so...
Let's go. I'm psyched. I really want to continue this series. I'm really excited for it.
Yeah.
Can I say another thing I love before we go into spoiler territory?
Yes.
I love that that there were multiple points of view that were in the same physical setting. So you got to see each person's behavior from the other person's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like giving the different points of view about the same conversation made you realize how subjective everything was. And I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's something you don't really see a lot, because you're just like, okay, we're all here in the same area together. So like, why do we need multiple perspectives? It'd be like, like the 4 of us or something. It'd be like, maybe I'm narrating the story. It's like, okay, well, why do we need the other 3 of you guys' perspectives? Because like we were all there and we all experienced the same thing. But really, that's not realistic. That's not, I see things completely differently than all 3 of you. So like, just because we're doing the same things and the same thing has happened to us doesn't mean that we all feel the same way about it. And so I really did enjoy having the different personality people as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's because we read so much Becky Chambers, but I was expecting like more point of view.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I don't think it's spoilery to say, because I think it's mentioned on the back that like we're basically following 2 point of views the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have liked more of
Me too.
Yeah.
just the crew.
Yeah, definitely. I'm interested to know what POVs they're going to use in the second book.
Right.
Yeah, same.
I heard we get more female characters in the second book.
Good. Cool.
Because there's only like Naomi in this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Naomi, Shadid, who was the boss.
Oh, yeah.
And then Mus? I don't know if I'm saying their name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was saying Mus.
Mus, yeah.
The second partner after Havelock.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yep.
Yeah. And then Julie.
I bet Havelock is back. in the second or third book.
Probably.
I can see that. But...
Okay. Should we move into spoiler territory?
Yeah, we have a lot to talk about. Let's go.
Okay, so you haven't read this book. You might want to, hop off right now.
Get out of here.
We're getting into spoilers. Anyone have something like specific they wanted to start off with?
I think we all just want to talk about Miller and how like I had really mixed opinions, and I'm the same as Steph. I kept like, there was things he was doing, and I was like, man, I really want to like you, but you just keep doing these little things that are pissing me off.
Yeah.
Like when he was like casually and companionably racist with his boss in a private setting, I was like, I don't know about that. I could see what they were trying to do with his obsession with Julie Mel.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we had long enough with him doing the case for him to like build that obsession.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if that had been more slow burn and dragged out, like I knew what the intention of the author was, but I was like, I'm not there emotionally yet.
Yeah, it just made me feel very like creepy. And I'm sure that like even if we did get it drawn out a little bit more, it would still feel a little weird of how obsessed he was. But at least I would have understood it more. Whereas, like, this, just because, like, kind of like you said, it was kind of, like, thrown in there. Not thrown in there, but, like, we didn't get as much of a slow build, like, towards it, learning more about it. I just got very, like, ew.
Yeah, it kind of put me off about how obsessed he was with Julie. I was like, why are you so obsessed with this girl?
I could get, like, a level of obsession. But then when he's imagining Julie and his imagination of Julie is saying like, I love you. I was like,
I love you. I was like, no,
no,
sir.
No way.
No. Obsession with the case, yes. Obsession with her as a sexual object, no. Like, I don't know if I misinterpreted this or if you guys interpreted the same way, but in my head, he was like 49 and she was like 22, 23.
Oh, yeah.
It was definitely like an older man, younger woman vibe that I also got as well.
Yeah, no. Like, I would have liked it more because he kept talking about his ex-wife, right? And how his failed relationship with his ex-wife. So, like, if he would have taken it from the perspective of, like, the daughter I never got to have, maybe, or something like that, would have been more, I can understand his obsession because he also has this obsession with, he keeps reflecting on his failed marriage. Like, but it was weird. I didn't like it. It was creepy. So I loved him for his conversations and what he did with Holden. Yes. But other than that, I don't know.
Also,
I love how he... Sorry, go on, Melody.
Okay, go, Max.
I was going to say, I loved how he kept one half, like, totally start to finish, kept one half of the story feeling like a detective noir film.
Yes.
That was so cool. It made me feel like it had the same vibe as like the OG Blade Runner movie for me.
Yes.
So cool.
That was refreshing.
I haven't read a lot of like detective noir in a while, and like this, it definitely made me feel like I'm like, oh, yes, this is what I love. I love mystery and thriller and just like, going about it the detective way. And it definitely filled like a void that I was missing for a while.
I didn't picture him like, I feel like it was halfway through that they dropped that he was wearing a stupid hat.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I didn't picture him with that.
What? Is it because was he balding? Is that what was happening?
No, he just like a pork pie hat is a very detective-y hat. So I think they just gave him like a detective costume.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
He's like, I noticed you because of your hat. And I was like, he's wearing a hat. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Miller. Oh, goodness.
Speaking of Miller being an older guy, how old did you picture Holden and Naomi?
Late 30s?
Yeah.
30, yeah.
I would say older than me, which I'm like mid-20s, but not like too much older.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts on Holden?
Oh, wait. Before I get thoughts on Holden, did anyone else not like Julie?
Like what? We didn't really get Julie.
Yeah, we didn't.
Okay, imagine
I'm indifferent.
Miller's Julie. I did not.
Oh, Miller's Julie. Yeah, no way. But like chapter 1 Julie, I was like, oh my god, how cool is this person?
Wow.
Yes.
So sad we didn't get her back.
I was not expecting her to die.
Right.
Yeah.
Die.
Yeah.
When they were like went into the thing and opened the shower and Julie was just dead, I was like, what?
I was like, yeah. No.
I loved it.
I feel like some of the sexualizing of Julie though must be the author, because straight away when they open the shower, he talks about like the growths coming out of her vulva.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then he does it to Miller as well when he talks about the tube coming out of his dick.
Yeah, at least it's both sides.
It's balanced, yeah.
But no, I did not. Like Miller kept talking about Julie, like, having this like savior complex. And I was like, she's just a rich who ran away from home. I don't feel bad for her. Like, sorry, no.
Whenever a parent is like, my kid doesn't want to come back home, you know that there is an issue there, and it is the parent's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Hot take.
That might
not wrong.
I'm hoping like her parents come into maybe the second book or something.
I think their company definitely will.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fun.
I keep getting told about this one character called Chris Jen. Like, my uncle is obsessed with The Expanse, and he's like, oh my god, just wait for Chris Jen. It's the best female character in the series.
Nice.
Wow.
I'm psyched.
All right.
I'm excited. Wait, how long is the series?
There's 8 books so far, and there's going to be 1 more.
Oh my god.
So its finishes at 9. And 9 is called Leviathan Falls, which is really cool.
And we didn't even find out in this book why it's called Leviathan Wakes, technically.
Yeah.
Did they name drop? I don't think so, right?
Not that I can remember off the top of my head.
I don't think so.
Unless it's more metaphorical for the proto-molecule.
I can keyword search in my book.
Oh, that's a really good thing about having the online copy, the digital one.
Yes. But Holden, what do you guys think?
I didn't like how righteous he was to a fault. I was like, come on, like, you can bend the rules a little bit, man.
Right. It's like, yeah, it's good to be by the books and everything, because, like, that's the kind of person I am. But, like, sometimes you need to just not. But, yeah, just sometimes you just need to not.
To the end, everything was his fault. To the end, to the very last page. Like, no, God help us. Also, I don't know what his team saw in him. If he was my captain, I mean, I get wanting to follow your captain, but I would have just punched him in the face at some point. I was like, you are just annoying.
I think there's an aspect of when you're serving underneath somebody, you follow their directives unquestioningly, but like never really being sure about what the end goal is. But I feel like if I was on his crew, I would be able to, even though it's like he would annoy the hell out of me, I feel like I would 100% know we were the good guys.
Yeah.
And that's probably what's appealing.
But they started off as ice mining, water transport. Like, okay, here's something that I was maybe confused about. But I get that they had military experience. But how they went from ice miners, basically space truckers, to being the only military fleet. Like, I would have, the whole situation and the negotiation that they had with Fred of agreeing to let them kind of like spearhead all of these excursions. I feel like Fred should have sent more kind of backup. It didn't seem realistic to me that they were the only ones there. Or was I imagining this wrong?
Maybe Fred just didn't want to send too many people because then it would look more suspicious. Maybe he just wanted to send like a little team. I don't know though, honestly.
I feel like that's a big fate to trust in some ice miners. Like,
yeah, that you only just met.
That you just met, yeah. Like, at least give them some sort of like covert transport. I mean, they did a couple times with like that one other ship that would follow them around, but just didn't feel like it. I mean, before the collapse of Eros, I feel like they could have easily covered up having multiple ships as part of like an escort that were secretly, battle carriers. But that just, I don't know.
Maybe he's just a really trusting guy, and he's just, I don't know, want to give him a chance and be like, I trust you. You seem cool. Like, go ahead. Oh.
No.
I feel like we're not done with Fred though. Like,
no.
Even though he got some kind of, I didn't like how his like redemption arc for killing all those people was just killing more people.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like he like killed the entire station, and that was how he became like a bad guy in the first place. And then he just killed another entire station and was like, yay, it's balanced now.
I did
it! I did it! Speaking of military though, one of the things I wasn't a huge fan of was how Mars, the only thing we have of Mars so far is the military. Like there is no other world building that's come from Mars or even the moon. Like from what I can gather, Mars is like the fighty ones. The moon is like all the factories, I guess, and they're building stuff with the dockyards. But that's it from them so far.
I'm assuming we're gonna get more of them later.
Mm-hmm.
I hope so.
Hopefully. How did you like the ending with Fred, and his last line was like, "We can go to the stars" or something like that?
That, for me, I feel like he's gonna try and sensibly use the proton molecule. Okay. And that was like his whole thing about we can go to the stars is like, we can engineer it because we're the good guys.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. It's like,
It's like, come on, y'all, like wrong. We can do it.
Yeah, like something's gonna happen.
This can either go really originally or really cliche very quickly, depending on where the authors go with that.
But I was so surprised. I feel like the author will surprise us because I was not expecting like vomiting zombies in this book.
I wanted more of them.
I wanted more.
I want more zombies.
They even get to like fight with the zombies. They just saw them and ran away.
One thing that's like, and this line I'm gonna say now, if it would make no sense if you haven't read the book. But I wonder whether the Mormons are going to come back in as like a major player.
Oh my god!
Do you know what I mean?
That's hilarious.
They sacrificed that ship for nothing.
No, did the ship die, or is the ship still fine?
No, they said they were able to save it. I think they were able to slow it down. And no, actually, no.
Because it missed Eros, didn't it?
Yeah, it did miss. But I think they said they were just going to abort mission. Throw it into something else.
But that guy that like spat on Holden as he went out was like, "You're a demon."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, these Mormons."
They're angry.
That was great. Oh man, I believe it though. I have a feeling that's how things are going to go down.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
it kind of reminds me.
Going to be the one to do it, but someone is going to be like making the ship, and then. Like that might be the first thing, because I mean, these religious organizations have a lot of funding, so maybe space.
Did you ever read a book called The Sparrow by Maria Doria Russell?
On my TBR.
Highly recommended. That is about religious people going to space, and it's really interesting.
Ooh.
Really interesting.
The Sparrow.
But it's like messed up. Like there are bits in that book where you'll read it and it's like, ugh! Like it's horrible.
Is it horror?
No, but there's like there are some really big content warning words on that book. So I would look up a content warning list before anyone goes into it.
Got it.
Okay.
But yeah. Do we want to talk about how did you guys feel about Julie being dead and then alive again?
I think it would have been better if we hadn't had imaginary Julie in the middle.
Right. I feel like with all the other content that I watch, specifically like Marvel movies, or just kind of any movies, especially them when like, someone dies and then they end up coming back. So like, kind of like it didn't faze me at first because in a way I'm used to it because I'm like, oh, that makes sense because everyone else is always dead and then coming back alive, which makes me mad, but that's a whole different kind of rant. But I agree with Max though, with like the whole, like, I don't know, I was just like, it didn't like faze me because like with the content I'm used to, that's not necessarily expected, but like I know how to react to it. But then like middle pretend fake Julie, I don't know. It was just I was very confused by the whole thing. It just made me feel confused.
I feel like for me when Julie died, I was like, what? She died? But then when she came back alive, I was just like, huh?
The thing as well with Miller finding her right at the end, he's built up this picture of who she is in his head. So he like takes her hand, kisses her hand, and he's like, "Oh my god, Julie!" But she would have been like,
She goes,
like, who is this man?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting her body to still be like semi-intact.
I don't know how I feel about that. Considering all of the other people that were also absorbed, like I understand that she was like the chrysalis.
Yeah.
But I would have liked more, considering I feel like Miller's mental state was just becoming more frazzled as we went along. He was spiraling into like trigger warning. I guess Natalie or anyone else is watching this for suicidal tendencies. But when he got there, it didn't look like Julie. If it was just like this blob or something of just matter, and his obsession was like, oh, it's Julie, and he's like caressing it, but it's really not. It's just like a blob. And then maybe he gets absorbed, and he's the reason that it detours or something. I don't know. It just felt very simple. It's like
if the molecule had like grown into him, and then suddenly he'd heard Julie's voice, that would have been different. Do you think she's dead now?
No.
But like, do you even think Miller is dead?
Maybe nobody's dead.
Yeah, I think they're all like all their subconsciousness or whatever.
Maybe that's where the talking was coming from. All their subconsciouses merging.
Yeah.
Well, they're talking about like all the stuff now happening on Venus, so like something is going on.
You know what this made me think of? Oh, you guys probably haven't watched it. I'm pretty sure I said this before. Gundam 00. This is an anime, but it's about like this. The final movie is about this like alien species that comes, and the whole point is they want to have these dialogues, but they're also like morphing with humans, and humans think that this alien is a virus enemy, but it's not. It's just trying to put everyone together to have a conversation about like stopping war and like life and whatever. I feel like it's going in that direction.
Now it's something I'll have to check out.
Yeah.
What do you think the original purpose of the molecule was?
Okay, theories. I have a theory, but do you guys?
Go on then. Let's hear your theory.
Yeah, let's hear your theory.
Okay, so I don't even think that this is a weapon in the first place. That rather it might have just been some far-flung solar system. Maybe there was a collision. Maybe there was something else, and it's just a piece of the dominant life form from that planet that kind of like got pushed into space, happened to come this way, coincidence happened, I don't know. Because I feel like they're very much pushing this idea of it's a weapon. It came here with a purpose. But did it though?
That's a very human way to think.
Yeah.
And like whenever I hear people be like, "Oh, it's definitely a weapon," I'm like, let's give it a chance. Like, I don't know. Maybe I just don't automatically think that something is out to get me, and so maybe I should. I need to be a little more alert. But like, I don't know. It's just like when they were like, "Oh, we need to do that," I'm like, "Do we though? Like, do we? Like, we don't know yet. We can't assume everything's bad."
But it did like eat all those people.
Yes. Yes. So we know like the consequence of it is not ideal.
Right.
But I don't think that was its purpose.
Yeah, I don't know if that was its purpose of what they're making it out to sound like. I don't know. What do you think, Max?
I feel like with it having absorbed Julie, I now have doubts about whether it's absorbed everybody or just killed them at all. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's I don't know. I feel like if there's... I'm trying to think how I'm going to put this into words. It's super interesting to think about a sentient thing that is purely instructions. Like it's the way it's a virus that's building something as a final stage in almost in its life cycle. So maybe the virus is just like the egg, and then it evolves into something else, which evolves into something else. So, but maybe it can do that with anything, like regardless of what species it comes into contact with. Yeah. The ending where he goes into Eros really reminded me of the end of the Annihilation book, the Jeff Vandermeer Annihilation book.
Not finish Annihilation.
Did you DNF it?
I DNF'd it. Oh, sorry. Book one. I mean, I read book one like over 10 years ago, so I have to read it again to see if my taste has changed. But at the time, I DNF'd it.
I don't know if I was reading it wrong, but when he went into like Eros, was there like fleshes of humans that were like fake humans that were being made? Because I was like just imagining that an army of like flesh people were gonna be made, and like,
people are flesh anyway.
like,
We're all people.
All the melted goo would turn into people again, and I was like, I'm so confused.
I know there were like the bits of people crawling around.
Yeah.
It gave the impression that it was building an environment.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
But like as to whether the creatures that were there were not necessarily human in form, just like they had like birds, spider, crawly things. I wanted more of that. Didn't get enough.
Maybe it's terraforming.
It is. That's a good point.
It could be just terraforming to an environment that we would not recognize, so we wouldn't know it was terraforming.
Mm-hmm. Mm. It's true. It did mention a couple times that there were increases in different kinds of gases in the atmosphere when Miller was in there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And considering that it was able to flourish on Venus, coincides with that idea. Ooh.
Yes. But when it said at the end that there were like the giant crystal towers on Venus, I'm thinking that's got to be some kind of comms array. 100%. I think it's building up to communicating.
Nice prediction.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was kind of a weird book for me because there's so much stuff I've read this year where you unpack it as you're reading and you're like, this means this, and like, oh, this is like a metaphor for this, but this is just 100% like an adventure story. I feel like there's very little to actually unpack as to like the deeper meaning of the book. But like, I don't know, it was like really fun to read.
Yeah, especially because it's such a small portion of a very long series, and we haven't read a really long series yet. So
yeah. Will everyone here be reading book 2?
Yes.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
When are you guys planning on reading book 2?
ASAP.
Hopefully soon, but knowing me, probably not for a while. But I'm going to try.
The wait list at my library.
I love the covers, so I definitely want to.
They're really nice, right?
They're so nice. Oh,
so nice.
They're so colorful.
Wait, the cover is of a ship, right? Is it their ship?
Yes, I'm assuming.
I think so.
I'm assuming that this is the Rocinante, but I could be wrong.
I have no idea. Oh, what did you think of the name? The Rocinante.
I was confused. I mean, I never read Don Quixote anyway, so I don't really get the reference. But as a word, I was like, what? But I liked that there were multiple I like that there were multiple languages in this book, and we got to see how like different continents got to like colonize throughout the solar system.
Yeah.
And if you guys watch Futurama, in Futurama, Mars is also ruled by Amy Wong's family is Chinese in ethnicity, but they're also Texan. So it was like, I don't know if you guys saw that as well. I was like, wait, Futurama called this. But I did notice that for some reason, only Spanish sentences had an immediate translation after them, not any other language.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's because those characters who were saying those sentences was an important part of the plot, and the other ones were just kind of like supporting moments.
There, yeah.
I was like, what?
What other languages did anybody pick up on? Because I know it mentioned gutter German, and there were a couple of words in. Yeah, there was some Russian. a couple of words in like Afrikaans and Dutch as well.
Creole.
Oh yeah, okay.
There was Creole, yeah.
Actually,
I feel like it's really cool. I think for at least the first 100 years after we go to space, it's going to be almost exclusively American English, Mandarin, and Russian. I think are going to be like the big 3 space languages. And I think it's going to be a while before anything else gets up there at all. Because they're the ones with the money, I guess.
Which is why I really appreciated that when we got to know the Belters as a community, we got to see how like their socioeconomic status and also their separation of the rest of the solar system kind of turned into all these smaller languages and variations, and how Miller was understanding them. But I guess that comes with being a cop and like working the beat in these.
Yeah, definitely.
That's very cool.
I really liked how Amos, he also knew, like, when one of them spoke it, he knew, like, the translation. He's like, that was easy. What do you need? And I was like, yes, Amos.
That was great. It was so good.
So Ceres, the planet, they're, like, all underground, right? It's just all tunnels?
Ceres, I think, is an asteroid.
Yeah, but I think...
So I think it's just built inside it.
Yeah, built inside the asteroid.
That's so cool.
So I was trying to think when they had the plan of pushing Eros into the sun, whether there was going to be any kind of conflict as it passed through either Mars or Earth's elliptical. Like I mean, depending on where they were at the time of it passing through, if it was going to be close enough to have any confrontation. But I guess it didn't, right? It just kind of like flew by.
It's interesting because, like, when you're going to have stuff in orbit, like Earth, Mars, Moon, the belt, like, what is going to be the sense of space ownership? How is that going to be defined? When you have stuff, I reckon it's going to be defined as like, so you have Mars, and then they have jurisdiction over the area around Mars, regardless of where it is in the sun's orbit. Because if it's on like one side of the sun, they're not going to care about the stuff that's happening in the Mars elliptical all the way on the other side.
I would think.
I guess. Maybe.
I would think.
I don't know.
I would like to ideally think not, but considering how selfish everyone is in the series, I would think that they would.
So would you think that they would control ellipticals rather than immediate areas of space?
I would think.
Why not both?
I would think ellipticals both? And just like I don't know how the moons are situated, or even with the asteroids in the belt, just like whatever their Lagrange trajectory is, that is probably going to mark like anything in between them, like international waters.
It just makes me think about how this could potentially be like a real thing. Probably not in our lifetime, but like in the future for sure. And that just kind of makes me nervous. I hope it's not my lifetime. I don't want to think about things like that. I'm very just satisfied right here, right now, staying on this one blue planet for now. I can't even barely like just think about, like, I'm trying to like expand my mind and think about how they would go about it, like in things like this. And then I just read it as like, what if this is like the future? And so like Elon Musk picks this up and he's like, oh, that's a good idea or something like that. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
How did you guys feel about Miller's shooting Dresden and Holden's response to him?
I get why he did it.
Yes.
I understand why he did it, but I don't... Yeah, you know what? I do agree with it because I don't think he would have ever got proper justice. I think him being alive would have been just dangerous.
Yeah.
So I feel like I wouldn't probably have been able to do it, just like shoot a man dead on the spot because I didn't think he was like, it was safe to keep him alive. But I think if Miller had done it and I had been there, I would have been relieved that I didn't have to do that.
Yeah, like it made sense, but also kind of the same thing. I would never want to result to something like that. So it's hard for like me to read just because I am a very trusting person. I just want to be like, look, something can happen. We don't need to like kill him right here on the spot. But again, I kind of see like why it was necessary. And again, I just wouldn't want to be in that position either. So yeah, like I get it. I just don't like it. That I understand why we had to do it.
I do kind of think though that the only reason Miller got that suicidal at the end was because Holden finally cut ties with him and wouldn't let him back in the group. I think if Holden had let Miller on board as part of the crew, I don't think Miller would have ever gone down to Eros again. Sorry.
That might have been like the straw that broke the camel's back for him.
Right.
Yeah.
It was his final, because he was very desperate by that point anyway, wanting to belong to something.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that section where he just spiraled into drinking after he lost his security job. I gotta find my notes. Wait, you guys. Oh God. Where is it?
Was there a certain scene or anything that stuck the most to you after reading this book?
Him shooting Dresden. I would have totally done the same thing. I was screaming. I was like, yes! Because the moment they described Dresden as his demeanor and just the way he was talking, I was like, this could easily go into a Hannibal section. A Hannibal Lecter situation. Like I could see him in jail pulling the strings, and I was like, oh no! And then he shoots him. I was like, hell yeah!
I was not expecting that he made all of the scientists to be like sociopaths. I was like, excuse me? You did what now?
I'm trying to think of like specific scenes that I really liked.
I think for me, it would have been like the Holden Miller scene when he was like, oh, where should we meet up if we like live through this? And then Miller, like his heart. And I was like, yes. But then he got kicked off and I was like, okay.
So I found my note from the section where he was trying to find a new security job and he was having a hard time because everyone's saying like, you're overqualified for these positions, but at the same time, he's older and certain companies don't want to pay for the experience. They'd rather pay for entry level. So it's like, you know, that feeling of just needing employment and everyone wanting to have someone who's experienced but not wanting to pay for the experience. It's like, I feel this so much. Oh,
There's some stuff that I'm really excited for, like the visuals of stuff. One thing I always the hands, oh my god. There's like one thing I always think in space, when you're that far away from the sun, when you get to like Mars and even further like out to the belt, you wouldn't see stuff at all. Like even if there was a massive space station in front of you, there wouldn't be enough sunlight to bounce off it into your eyes for you to even know it was there, unless you were like shining your own high beams on it. What was the LiDAR they kept using? Did anyone look it up?
No,
because they use radar and they use LiDAR.
We did.
Which I'm guessing is like where you shine lasers into space and see if they bounce back off anything.
So, because they also use infrared. Yep, I see. Yep, it's laser. That's exactly what it is.
But how can they use infrared? Because heat wouldn't travel through a vacuum anyway.
Huh. Great question. I mean, I think they didn't use infrared very often. I think one of the few times they did use it was when they found this Kapuli, and they were
when they had like the stealth ships as well. Yeah.
Ooh, so the Skopuli got destroyed, right? Or no?
No, I don't know if it did get destroyed. Oh no, they did, because didn't Amos rig it to blow up?
Did they?
When they
leave,
yeah, they did. Okay.
I think he rigged the reactor.
Okay.
He made a joke.
Because they were like, Amos was like, we should loot the ship. We should just sell it. And then Holden was like, everyone will literally die if you do not blow this ship up right now. He was like, oh, yes, yeah, okay.
That's right,
okay.
Yes.
Question. Okay, wait. So the sample that Fred now has is from the Julie's iPad, whatever, that was in the bag, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Sample. So when they actually went on the ship and they poked around, they walked around, and they did things, shouldn't there have been some kind of cross-contamination? Because I don't think that when they went back onto the other ship that they got there on, that they had the tools necessary to sanitize or whatever it would, I don't even know it would take at this point to kill the proto-molecule, but because didn't they
maybe no, they did say what would kill it. They said that because it's anaerobic, flooding it with oxygen will kill it.
Did they say that? Oh, I totally.
Yeah. That sounds familiar. Yeah, that I'm like thinking back on it. I do remember something with that. Yes, that makes sense.
That makes sense. Okay. I shouldn't. Good job. Let's see. No, I have more questions.
What else is in the notes?
Those were all my notes.
So does everyone have sperm and eggs saved on 2 different locations?
I think just the smart people.
Yeah.
Like when you go to space, like I don't think most people realize how full of deadly radiation just normal space is, unless you're behind like 3 inches of lead. Mm-hmm. Like everything is going to be fried. Mm-hmm. But that's why they were talking about. That's why they build stuff inside asteroids, because asteroids are mainly made out of nickel and water. Mm-hmm. So and water is like one of the best radiation shields that you can physically get. It stops everything below gamma.
Yeah, it was really interesting to see how advanced their medical technology was.
Yeah.
Because they were about to die from that radiation. So I was like, okay.
Oh, I tell you, actually, one thing I really liked. There was one time that I think it was Holden or maybe Fred referred to a quote by, I think it might even have been Carl Sagan or like Stephen Hawking, when they said the Third World War will be people throwing rocks.
They had a couple quotes in here.
They did, yeah. But this one was like, I love how it was totally twisted out of context, because what he meant was the Second World War will be the end and reduce us to like the Stone Age.
Yep.
But it will literally now be people dropping rocks from orbit. So cool. I love how that was like the peak weapon as well. They're talking about like nukes and railguns, and they keep saying at least nobody's dropped a rock yet.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest thing you can do.
Throwing rocks at each other.
And maybe this is something that hasn't been explained yet, but why was Miller not experiencing any kind of G-force when Eros was speeding towards Earth?
He's a belter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Naomi was feeling it when she was on the ship with Holden, and they were trying to catch up.
Yeah, but she was feeling it way less than Holden, and she recovered much quicker.
Wow.
Holden
was like messed up from going high G's, but Naomi was like, oh, and then was like, okay, we're done.
But then there were sections where they were just in, I don't know, I forgot what location they were in, but the environment had higher G's, and I know that Holden and the other Earthers were more comfortable, and they mentioned that Naomi and Miller had a more of a difficult time moving around, but they were still able to cope with it. So doesn't that show that they can be affected by the increase in pressure, but then during the flight in Eros they weren't?
Yeah, I think maybe. No, go on, Melody, go on.
Oh, I remember them pointing it out that it was weird that he didn't feel that Eros was speeding up, really. So.
But he talks in the end about when he's talking to Holden, he says that Eros has found a way to cancel out inertia.
Yeah.
And he mentions that there was, when you stop, there was no momentum crash. Mm-hmm. So he can move without any G-force. I think there was 0 G-force on Eros.
We get more of an explanation. Oh my gosh, Venus is gonna fly around and kill everybody.
I can see that happening.
No. Oh no. Do you think it's gonna take over the sun?
Ooh.
Nah.
Nah.
No, but that would be interesting.
Yeah,
it would be. Do you think do you think it's all gonna be played out within the solar system, or do you think we're gonna go outside?
I want to go outside. Aliens.
I hope we go outside.
I want to meet whoever sent the thing.
If anyone sent the thing.
Yeah, if anyone sent the thing.
I bet we'll probably at least go as far as like the Oort cloud or Pluto.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, it would be nice to stay in our solar system just because I'm familiar with, like, you know, the planets, so I'll, like, you know, understand what they're talking about and things like that. But, like, I want to go outside. I want something new.
Also, which I think it was the Toth station that they blew up or something, and that it ended up being absorbed into Saturn. Right? But now that we know that the atmosphere on Venus didn't necessarily prevent the protomolecule from reproducing or continuing whatever path it's on, is it safe to say that Saturn, which we know has some sort of solid or dense core, is safe? Maybe it's like, maybe they're stuck in the middle. So we got Venus, everyone, and then Saturn, and they're being attacked on both sides.
Oh. So everyone's gonna die.
I would have totally been okay if everyone died. In book 2, we have a totally new cast, except for Fred.
Yeah.
No.
That new cast every book is like, is your Chambers brain speaking?
I know.
I read the synopsis for the second book, and I think it follows 2 other characters, I think, but it also follows Holden's crew again.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
I think.
I really liked Amos. I just loved how straightforward he was. Like, I like you. I also thought Alex was a woman for the longest time.
Really?
Yeah.
He just wanted to blow things up. I really liked him.
He had one goal, just to blow things up. I'm like, you know
up.
what?
He knows what he's about.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Anything else in your notes, Steph?
I'm looking.
All those tabs.
I don't know. There were a lot of like sections in here that I highlighted that I just really enjoyed. But I don't know.
I like his descriptives. He's a very descriptive writer.
Yes.
He was very descriptive. I loved it. This where Miller is talking to Holden, he goes, you can't just throw information at people. You have to know what it means, what it's going to do. There has to be there was a case back on Sirius. Little girl got killed for the first 18 something. But he was just like arguing with him about, you think you're so moral and you're so righteous, but you're not really considering like you're putting too much trust in humanity when humanity has gotten to this point where we have people starving, we have this inequity of resources, we have this superpower of Mars. Like, what evidence here is going to make you think that they're going to take this information? Everything's just going to be hunky-dory peachy, okay, kumbaya. Like, oh man.
I thought it was really interesting that Miller was kind of surprised that the inner planets like didn't like each other.
Right.
he seemed like so shook. He was like, "You're the reason why Mars and Earth is like against each other right now." And Holden was like, "Bruh, they didn't like each other forever."
I feel like that was part of why the Belters had such a strong sense of community, and I think it's sad. It honestly is sad because I feel like in humans, a lot of the time you only get a community of us if you can make a them to be mad at. So like I feel like they lumped all the inner planets together, but also by doing that, it gave them a sense of better togetherness. Man, we just suck, all of us. We're just horrible.
Basically.
Yep.
I love how we went from Becky Chambers, like, everything's lovely, and like now, like, James Corey, like, the universe is horrible.
Don't trust anyone.
Opposite of Becky Chambers.
You know, we need a little bit of that balance. Like, we gotta not trust each other every now and then.
You know what? I think when we first started this book club, this is kind of like the kind of stuff I thought we were gonna get most of the time. And the fact that it's been over half a year, maybe like 3/4 of a year, and we're just getting to some like traditional sci-fi. It's really interesting.
It does feel traditional sci-fi. I think this is what most people expect from the genre.
I know at least on this book, it says like this little blurb from like George R.R. Martin, and it's like it's been too long since we've had a really kick-ass space opera, so that definitely makes sense of how it feels more traditional in the sense.
Does your quote say the same as that, Steph? On yours?
Mine says interplanetary adventure the way it ought to be written by George R.R. Martin.
That's so weird that there's different quotes on all the books.
Quotes
Mine says, as close as you'll get to a Hollywood blockbuster in book form.
Mine says part of that sentence on the back. Hollywood blockbuster in book form. A second quote by George R.R. Martin that says a kick-ass space opera.
Okay, that's the second part of mine. But I also have one on mine on the back says an excellent space operatic debut in the grand tradition of Peter F. Hamilton from Charles Stross.
Charles Stross is cool. He's a cool guy.
Actually,
so I respect that quote.
There's another quote on here from the Wall Street Journal that says the future the way it was supposed to be. I don't agree with that. No. Wrong book.
Yeah, no thanks.
But on the blurb about the authors on the back, which I didn't even know it was 2 authors. I thought it was 1 person.
Wait, cool. It's 2 authors?
It's 2 people?
It is 2 people.
I clearly didn't read the author blurb.
And one of them was assistant to George R.R. Martin, which is probably why he has 2 blurbs on here.
Who's the other author then?
It is...
And why does it only say James Corey?
Yeah, why does it only say
James S.A. Corey is the pen name of fantasy author Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank. George R.R.
No
Martin.
way.
Wow.
They both live in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yep. Actually, there's a whole like Q&A section in the back of mine. Do you guys have that?
Do you have the interview?
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I wonder if they separately wrote each point of view. Probably not.
I don't know. I felt like they were very different, but also very similar.
Yeah.
So
sometimes I think that I worry with stuff with 2 authors that it can be overworked. So maybe they used the single author name so people wouldn't have that assumption about the book. Maybe. There are some really good sci-fi author teams, though. If you haven't read anything by Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle that write together, that is like 10 out of 10 chef's kiss sci-fi. Super cool.
Okay.
Anything else? I'm like mind blown that this is 2 people now. That's like probably
It's like I hate when they do that and they trick me, but then it's just so good because I can't tell.
It doesn't feel like 2 people.
Can I just say I love that the number is on the spine?
Yes.
Not enough series do that.
Right.
That's true. And it has the series title on the spine.
Oh.
I've never seen this before except for Harry Potter, where it was like year 1, year 2 kind of thing. And I can't think, and I always would like to know, because sometimes I want to make sure I'm reading in the right order. Because it's not always just like, Leviathan Wakes 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Dun, dun, dun.
There's nothing else.
Don't think so.
I don't think so. I'm just looking at the notes like anything.
Okay. Well, I'll tell them about next month's book. Yes. So next month we are going to be reading Gideon the Ninth.
Ooh.
Yes. It's so funny. Which is, I think everybody describes it as like lesbian necromancers in space. It's the short synopsis of it.
What else do you need?
Right? Do you guys want me to read the blurb?
You know, it is so hard to get copies of that book in the UK.
Really?
Yeah, it's like they make it difficult. I don't know.
There's a conspiracy.
Dun, dun, dun.
Interesting.
No, I feel like I see this everywhere on shelves here.
Mm.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't read this blurb on the inside. The back literally says lesbian necromancer. But anyway, it says brought up by unfriendly, ossifying nuns, ancient retainers, and countless skeletons, Gideon is ready to abandon a life of servitude and an afterlife as a reanimated corpse. Ooh. She packs up her sword, her shoes, and her dirty magazines and prepares to launch her daring escape. But her childhood nemesis won't set her free without a service. Harrowhark Nanogesimus, Reverend Daughter of the Ninth House and Bone Witch Extraordinaire, has been summoned into action. The Emperor has invited the heirs to each of their loyal houses to a deadly trial of wits and skill. If Harrowhark succeeded, she will become an immortal, all-powerful servant of the resurrection. But no necromancer can ascend without their cavalier. Without Gideon's... Oh, sorry. I'm dying. Without Gideon's sword, Hera will fail and the Ninth House will die. Of course, some other things are better left dead.
Imagine dying while you were reading a blurb about necromancy.
Oh my gosh. And apparently there's going to be 3 books.
Ooh.
I have seen someone read the next one. I don't know what it's called, but I have seen someone just here on BookTube randomly, I don't remember who, being like, oh, this is the sequel to Gideon the Ninth. I'm like, cool, still haven't read that yet. So
it's Gideon the Ninth, Hera the Ninth, and Alecto the Ninth. Interesting.
Lots of 9s.
9's my favorite number.
Ooh. Yes.
It'll be on Steph's channel next one.
I hopefully at some point, maybe like when it becomes spooky fall season here, that we can do some horror.
I really want some horror sci-fi.
I'm down.
Yes, because I did a horror reading blog recently that's going to go up on my channel pretty soon, and none of them were scary.
No,
Lame.
that's disappointing.
No, I mean Prosperous Demon was funny but not scary.
Yeah.
I need some horror.
We should put out a poll to people just asking what the scariest sci-fi book they've ever read is.
Ooh. And then we read it.
Yes.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
I'm down.
Halloween special. Live.
Yes.
I'm down.
Okay. Alrighty. Thanks everyone for coming out. See you next month, hopefully. And yeah.
Bye guys.